Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our conferences here at Calmex. The topic of today is going to be the customs border, the first contact that people who come from abroad or do business with a country meet and the first place they encounter. As usual, my name is Carlos Martinez. I am an English instructor and speaking coach. I will be giving you this lecture about customs border. First, how can we define customs border? Who can tell me what a customs border is or how you would define it? Hmm? Okay, I remember that I can follow your answers via the chat area in Facebook, and I could answer, and I would like to read your answers to see what you think is customs border. Okay. Now you have an idea what customs border is. Let's define what customs really is. It's the area within an airport, seaport, or other border station where freight or baggage of travelers is checked for durable materials or contraband. Okay. For example, it took us an hour to get through customs. Okay, so it's the place where like the limit where when somebody who comes or to a country or goes to a country where they stop to answer some information and good afternoon, Jocelyn, and give details about their reason of their trips and stuff like that. Now let's define a little bit better what Customs and Border Protection is. It's the agency in charge with preventing entry of terrorists and terrorist weapons. That's why you go through when you enter a customs on immigration, you give all your documents and they check on your background to see if you have any terrorist affiliation or you might want to damage the country, right? Second, among its major tasks is maintaining border security, assessing and collecting custom duties. That means that if you have to pay taxes for something, they will verify if you have to or don't have to. Also collocate penalties if you don't follow the rules or if you have for some reason mistaken what you could or couldn't bring inside the country. They also have to do with illegal drugs. Sometimes you see them walking around with special dogs who can sniff the scent of narcotics, right? Also, processing people in carriers, cargo, and mail into and out of the country. So remember, this is a place that you meet when you first enter a country, and it's also the last place you are at when you leave a country. Okay. They detect and apprehend persons engaged in fraudulent practices, and basically they try to verify that anybody or anything that is entering the country is legal and will not cause any damage. That is basically what customs border is. And like I said at the beginning, it could be by any type of port, an airport, a seaport, or any other means of entering into the country. Next. What are customs and immigration at an airport? Okay, this here, what you see is another take of an immigration area at any local airport. People make their lines and they pass through an immigration officer and they check your documents, your passports, and basically all the information related to you as a person. So crossing international borders usually involves some kind of checkpoint, and you need to go when you cross. If you want to go to Ecuador, if you want to go to Chile, you need to cross a certain area where you are telling the country that you're leaving, and you're also telling the border country that you're entering it. Okay, because you cannot enter. It's like your house. You need permission to enter, and the immigration and customs area is the last area, like I said, that you see when you're living in a country, and it's the first area you see when you enter a country. Now, as you can see, this is more a customs area, okay? Here's where they will check your baggage and stuff like this. Okay. Officials at Customs and Immigration are checking travelers for things like whether they have the right document, or like if you're bringing in things that are allowed. You'll go through Customs and Immigration both ways in an international trip. You see, you go through Immigration and Customs when you go, and you go through Immigration and Customs when you return. Okay, that's the way it works, even if it's your natural country. If for the people who have traveled outside of Peru, they can see that, for example, if I go to the USA from here, Lima, I will go through Customs and Immigration in Lima, and I will go through Customs and Immigration when I arrive in New York, and the same will happen when I return. I will go through the same process. Okay, so what is the difference between Customs and Immigration? Are they the same? Let me see. I'm reading your answers in Facebook. Do you think they are the same, or are they different? What do you think? Remember that I can read your answers in Facebook. And see, I'm going to give you a minute to think. Do you think Customs and Immigration are the same, or do you think they are different? If you thought they were different, then you were right. Immigration is about the people traveling from one country to another, whereas customs is about the things they are carrying with them. Okay, so remember, immigration is more related to people, where customs is more related to articles or things that you bring or take with you. Okay, so that's the big difference. That immigration is the immigration officer is going to be interested in you as a person, about your background, about your history, about your intentions of coming in or out of the country. Whereas customs, they're interested in what are you carrying on with you? Are you bringing things that should not be entering the country? What are you taking with you? Are you taking out things that should never leave the country? Because just as there are regulations that allow or permit things to come into your country, there are also regulations for things to leave. Okay, some things here in Peru cannot be taken. I've seen many times when people try to take animals or exotic animals or pets outside the country, and that's totally illegal. In many airports, immigration is a mandatory process. Okay, immigration is a mandatory. I mean, I have not traveled yet. I haven't made a trip where I did not have to go through immigration or through customs. Okay, it's something that you have to do. It's not an option. It's mandatory. Involves speaking with an immigration officer who will stamp your passport. Okay, he will collocate the the stamp that you are legally entering the country, normally with a date and year. Okay, and also if you're like a foreigner, they will tell you how much time you are permitted to be in the country legally. Okay, if you have nothing, customs is an optional process. It's optional. Okay, so if you have nothing to declare, you don't need to speak to an officer. You can go through immigration without your luggage, but customs will be located after the claim back. You know, it's here in Lima, it's the same. You go through immigration and then you get your bags, and then you go through customs. You get the green light or the red light. Okay, but again, immigration is mandatory, customs is not. But that depends on what you're bringing. Okay, if you're bringing, you should know what objects or artifacts are allowed inside the country. If you know that you're bringing something in that is not allowed, or if you know that you're bringing something that you need to pay tax, you will have to pass to customs, because if you don't, then you will have issues. Okay, so remember, customs and immigration are totally different things. Immigration is for people, customs is for things. Now, let's review very quickly, as we always do. We have customs, and we have immigration. We have people traveling from one country to another, and we have the stuff those people are carrying with them. How can you match? Match. Let's see. Customs is what? Who can tell me? Remember that I can read all your information in Facebook. And I can see and I can see I can read your opinions. Okay, so customs, is it about the people who are traveling, or is it about the things that they bring? Immigration, is it about the people who are traveling, or is it about the things that they bring? So customs, what did you say? Did you say people traveling? Did you say the stuff that they're bringing? If you did, then that is the answer. Customs usually refers to the things that you bring with you, whereas immigration refers to the people, okay, when you are traveling or moving from one country to another, okay? This is very simple, but sometimes people get confused. Sometimes since the term is normally connected, because you will see customs and immigration, or United States is um, immigration and border patrol, okay? Yes, yes, very good. Very good, Damaris. Very good, Carmen. Very good, Sam. Yes. Excellent. Very good. I'm glad to hear the answers. Everybody's guessing correctly. Very good. Now, do you go through customs before or after you leave your flight? What do you think? If you have to go through customs, do you go to customs and immigration before or after you leave your flight? What do you think? Before or after? When I travel, when we go to Jorge Chavez, do we go through customs and immigration um, before we travel, or we only go to through customs and immigration when we return? Mm-hmm. What do you think? The answer is it depends. It depends. Okay. In most cases, you will go through customs immigration after you arrive. For example, you leave Lima, you go take your flight to New York, and once you arrived at Kennedy Airport, International Airport, you will go through immigration first, and then through customs. Okay, but there are some countries where that doesn't happen. For example, Ireland, um, because there's a treaty, there's an agreement between the USA and Ireland, where if you're going back from Ireland, you go through immigration and customs at the airport in Ireland, and then you arrive to your destination in the USA, and you just go. Okay, you just go. Um, Sometimes, for example, in some countries, or like in the USA, you go through, if you want to go to New York, but you make a stop in Miami Airport, in the first airport that you make your stop, that is where you're going to go through immigration and customs. Even if you're only going to be there for an hour or less, that's where you go through immigration and customs. Sometimes you like in Europe, and you make a stop in a country before arriving to your destination, you will go through only immigration when you're in your stop, and then go through customs in your final stop. Okay, so it varies. It varies depending on the country. It varies depending on the agreements that the countries have. It varies on the specific details that every regulation every country has. Like I said, in the USA, in your first stop, you have to go through customs and immigration. Whereas in Europe, you go through immigration in your first stop, and then you go through customs in your final stop. And you go before and you go in after also. Because like I told you, when you return, for example, you go to Miami and you return, they're going to ask you, where did you go? Are you bringing anything? Okay, and you will have to go through customs and immigration. So basically, it totally depends on each country. Each country has its own regulations regarding when to go to customs and immigration. Yeah, we need to figure out what are the regulations of these countries, because that's one of the main things you need to do when you're going to do business or you're going to travel to a certain country. What should I know when going through customs and immigration? Okay, this is very simple. It's not difficult, but let's talk about it. Let's review it. Okay, many of us in this business have traveled to many places in the world, or even if you have only traveled once, or you only go to a certain place many times, it's important to know these things. Okay. So things are going. Basically, all customs and immigration areas have the same pattern of questions. Okay, all the same information that they need to require from you. They need to acquire from you. There are things that they need to know. So that's why most of these questions tend to be similar. Okay, most of these questions tend to have the same objective. First of all, who are you? Okay, why are you here? Why are you coming to my country? That's the first thing. Second, are you going to do business here? If you're going to make money, then you're going to have to pay. If you're only in for tourism and travel, well, you can go. Um, are you bringing things that could be harmful for my people, for my country? Okay, the reasons for customs and immigration to exist basically is our last security. If somebody is able to cross the security line, and if the people are able to enter, and they manage to bring in maybe drugs, it's gonna hurt our people. If you bring in food that has some to have that when in this food might have some germs or bacteria or insects in it, and that are not good for my country, maybe you can cause serious damage. That's why basically they will ask all the questions they need to know that you are the right person to enter our country, and you are not going to damage it, and you are not going to create something bad for our country. So upon arriving at the desk of an immigration agent in your destination airport, you will likely be asked a variety of questions. In some cases, you might not be asked anything at all. Okay. I remembered a couple of trips of mine to New York where they only stamped my passport and they let me go. They didn't ask for anything. But I also remember a couple of trips to New York where they stopped me and they told me, you have to go to the little room. We need to investigate some information. And of course, after that I just went out because, I was there for like half an hour or an hour more than I usually was. So it totally depends. It totally depends. You may be asked whether your trip is for business or pleasure. Like I said, this is normal. How long you'll be in the country, what you do for a living, and what cities you will be visiting during your stay. Again, they need to know all the facts, because again, they do it because they are the last barrier between my country or their country and something bad that might enter. When you go through the same process on your way home, so you have to, when you return, you do the same. You'll be asked a similar set of questions. So instead of saying where are you going, they will ask you, where are you coming from. If they ask you, instead of saying what cities did you visit, where are you going to go from now. So basically, it's the same questions, only verifying that it is safe for you to re-enter the country. Okay, but basically, they all end up with the same question. Okay, they all end up with the same question. Do you have anything to declare? Because after immigration, then comes customs, and here is the part that is interesting, because customs, like I said before, even though it is not mandatory, um, if you don't declare, you're going to have issues, especially in countries like in the USA, where you pay fines, strong fines, and you are registered. Like, there's a list of people who have committed some paid fines or committed felonies, and you might be affected by it in your next trips to the country. Okay, let's review this very quickly. Where do you pass through customs and immigration? Always when you arrive at your destination, or sometimes at your point of departure. Which is correct? Where do you pass through customs and immigration? Always when you arrive at your destination, or at some point, or at your point of departure. Always, remember, keywords here are always and sometimes, okay? Because always means 100% of the time. Sometimes it's 50-50. So if you said that the answer was always, then you might have gotten it wrong, because the answer is sometimes. Sometimes there varies. Like I said, every country has its own rules and laws. Okay, the USA, you have to go through customs and immigration in your first stop in the country. Even if you're going to make 2 or 3 more stops, the first stop is where you declare immigration and customs. In some countries, like in Europe, you declare only immigration in your first stop, and you declare customs in your final stop. Okay, so it depends. It depends, like I said. But of course, you're always going to go through immigration and customs. If you're bringing things, you're always going to need to go through customs. Okay, but like I said, each country's regulation is different, and you have to go through customs and immigration when you leave and when you return. So, do you go through immigration and customs only in your destination? I think I just answered that. I think I gave you a spoiler. So, do you go through immigration and customs only in your destination, or also at your point of departure? What do you think? What do you think? Do you go through immigration only in your, remember, these keywords are only, sometimes, always, because these words make my statement stronger. So if I say always, like I said, it's 100%. The same with only. Only here, only in this place. Okay. So if you said yes or no, if you said yes, the answer will be wrong, because no, you go at your destination and when you return. Okay. So like I read it. Yes. Okay, Carmen says, I think when you are arriving as an international visitor, you go through customs. Well, yes, but like I said, customs is not mandatory, okay? Because, and even Peru, sometimes it happens here. They ask you, are you declaring something? No, okay. If you say no, you go your way. You go your way. And we're going to see the form in a minute. You'll just fill out your customs form and you say, no, I don't have anything to declare, and you go. Whereas in immigration, you don't have that option. In immigration, you have to pass through there first. Okay, now the thing is that if you tell the customs agent that you don't have anything to declare, but for some reason they manage to open your suitcase and they find things that you should have declared, then you're in trouble. Okay, so that's why you should always be honest with the customs agent, because they're going to believe you. If you say no, okay, but they also have the power of saying, let's just check that, for some reason, let's just check that, and they check it and you have problems, then you're going to have issues. Very good. Now, what are customs fees? What are custom fees? What do you think? Who can tell me what the definition of a custom fee is? Who can tell me the definition of a custom fee? What do you think is a custom fee? Hello, Anthony. How are you? Who can tell me the definition of a custom fee? How would you define the word custom fee? Customs fee or customs duty are essentially taxes on goods you bring with you across international borders. So it's that, well, like the tax that you have to pay for things that you bring. That's why they can also be called customs duty. Okay. And this is where the expression duty free comes from. So all these stores that are the airports are called duty free because they don't have to pay any tax. Okay. Because they're an international area. In most cases, goods that travelers bring from vacation are meant for personal use. Yeah, for example, if I go to Miami or California and I buy things, shirts or shoes or jackets, they're for me. So if it's for my personal use, then I don't need to pay taxes because it's for my personal use. But if I all of a sudden they open my bag and they see 20 pairs of shoes or sneakers and you say it's for my personal use, then you'll be a little bit suspicious and they might start asking more questions. Okay. Um, but if you bring, for example, clothing, but a dozen set of pants, a dozen shirts, and 10 jackets, then they're going to start um, uh, getting suspicious and thinking that you might be using it for business. Okay, so if that happens, then you are going to have problems. In other cases, there's a threshold above which travelers must pay a fee. A threshold is the maximum quantity that you can bring. For example, okay, you can bring in only 4 bottles of wine. Okay, so wine is not for, you can declare for bottles, but it cannot be said as for personal use. But if you, there's a limit, okay? You can bring only a maximum of these bottle of wines. If the maximum is 4, you bring 5, you're going to have to pay 5 for the excess. Okay, so if they tell you, okay, you can only bring 2 pairs of sneakers and you bring 4, then you're gonna have to pay the taxes for the 2 that are in excess, okay? So that's the threshold. There's a certain number. Alcohol and tobacco, for instance, have a customs duty depending on how much you bring with you. Okay, you can bring cigarettes and alcohol, but only until a certain limit. If once you cross that threshold, then you need to pay. Now, what can you bring through U.S. Customs? It's better to, I mean, you can basically take many things. So it's better to know what you can't bring or what you can't take, okay? And we're using the US as an example because it's one, first of all, it's similar in many other countries, like in the EU and in Asia. And also because it's one of the most important business partners, excuse me, that we have. So it's important to know the regulations. So like I said, it's easier to know what you can't bring, okay? Because there are many things that you can, okay? And even though there are a lot that you can't, but the list is smaller, so it'll be easier for you to know. The United States limits the amount of alcohol travelers can bring with them into the country. You can bring 1 liter duty-free, and after which a consumption duty of 3% per liter is imposed, okay? So if you pass the liter, then you're going to have to pay the percentage that is set there. Tobacco products have also limits, okay? Typically 200 cigarettes and 100 cigars per person. Anything above that, like you said here, it's rather than being taxed, will be confiscated, okay? Alcohol and cigarettes, it's not like you're going to be able to pay for the excess. No, they'll just keep it. Okay, if the threshold is it's 200 cigarettes and you bring 500, they're going to keep the 300 in excess and going to let you go with your 200, and you might even pay a fine for not saying the right amount. Okay, so it's very important to know what you can or can't bring, and of course the quantities. Plants are no. That means that you cannot take any plants. Okay, like I said before, because you don't know what germs or pests that plants might have. Imagine you, by mistake, you take a relative, you bring them some flowers, and those flowers might have some germs that kill all the flowers in that area or that city, and they want to avoid that. Which means some crafts made from plant materials are not going to make it through customs. So if you have anything that is made from plants, like basket hats or stuff like that, it's not going to go through. It's not going to go through because customs, they will take it and put it in their bottles. They have like big bottles where they collocate all these things that they confiscate. It is said that they destroy it afterwards. I suppose that's the way it goes. Okay. Depending on where you're coming from, so some pieces of art may get into trouble at customs because the country departing has expressly forbidden items it deems cultural treasures. And this happens a lot here in Peru. People that buy art crafts, like historic ones, and they try to take them out of the country, and that is illegal. There are things that cannot leave. I mean, if you buy an art craft in one of these Indian marketplaces that we have here in Lima, that's fine because those are made in mass production. But there are certain things like certain artifacts or certain crafts that they are impossible to be taken to another country. Okay, they need to go through customs. They need to go to customs. Now, what do I have to declare at customs? What do you think you need to declare? What do you need? You need to declare. What do you think is important to be declared? Hmm? You can tell me, what do you think is important to be declared at the customs office or area? Do I need to declare all the clothing that I'm taking? Do I need to declare maybe my cell phone, my laptop, or anything, or any gadget or artifact that I am taking? Do I have to declare everything that is in my bag? How many socks, how many pants, how many jackets, how many gloves or boots do I need to think? Big amount of money. Yes, definitely big amounts of money. So when you're asked if you have anything to declare, there are some things that you have to say yes. Okay. So these are some things that you have to say yes. Anything you bought while traveling, either for your personal use or as a gift for someone else. Okay. Okay. I am carrying clothing for me and a couple of shoes for my brother. Any gifts you received while traveling. Okay. I'm also bringing in a bottle of pisco that my family gave to me for my trip. Anything you inherited during your trip. Okay, you know, I came back without this, and now I'm leaving with this. Okay, anything you purchase at a duty free. Okay, anything you purchase, you have to declare customs. Anything you'll use for work, either to sell or use yourself, even if they're items you bought with you from the US and you're bringing them back. Okay, and, okay, I'm bringing my laptop and I'm bringing a notepad. Okay, or my iPad because they're from work. And any food product, alcohol, or tobacco. And yes, also big amounts of money. Okay, so you're bringing all these things, even though they might sound, but why? I mean, these are my things. You need to declare them, because if you don't, it's like they will say, okay, if nothing is bad with this thing that you're bringing in, why didn't you declare it? I mean, you have to declare it. That's what customs is there for. What happens if you don't declare something in U.S. customs? Okay, now this is important so you can know what's going to happen. Okay. Okay. Okay, this is just a sign that U.S. Border Patrol has. You need to declare fruits and vegetables, plants and cut flowers, meat and animal products, and live animals. Okay. Foreign insects, plants, animal diseases, invasive plants can be harmful. That's why they won't let you go. I mean, they will stay at borders. They will destroy them. Okay, let's see. If you have a prohibited item in your bag and you declare it, the only penalty is that you'll need to give it up. Okay, for example, I am carrying some passion fruit. It's in my bag. And it'll say, okay, that's it. I mean, you can't bring it in, but just take it out and throw it away and go. Continue with your life. Nothing happens. But if you got something in your bag and you don't declare it, then you will have a penalty. For example, if you didn't tell the customs agent that you had those passion fruits in your bag and he finds them, he will give you a penalty, give you a fine. Okay. If you don't have any prior record, okay, they will just tell you, okay, don't do it again. Okay. But if it's not your first time getting caught, however, you may well get hit with a fine of a few $100s or more. For example, meat, cheese, and produce sometimes have a fine of $10,000. So it's very important to declare. I mean, sometimes we don't because we don't want to pay, we don't want to lose time at the customs border patrol agency, but it's important to declare, okay? Now, because these infractions get recorded, you may get more intense scrutiny during customs in future flights. So for example, imagine I traveled and I went to immigration and they have all my, they have all your history of traveling. And yes, that's right. That's right, Ms. Pineda. Okay, so going back to the topic. You did it once, your name will be registered. So the next time you come in, something is going to pop up to say, okay, this guy lied the last time, or this woman lied the last time. Check her bags. So you will, I mean, you will in that case, you will be immediately fingered out, and you will have to go through customs. Okay. And sometimes there are certain things like global entry or TSA pre-check that allow you to skip some procedures while you are at the airport. If you are found guilty of bringing things and not declaring them, then you might lose those rights. Okay, so you won't be able to continue with your pre-check and stuff. So be careful, because if this has happened to you once, I'm very sure that you will have to in the future be asked to go through customs, whether or not you have something to declare or not. Okay, they just won't trust you anymore. Okay, so please be honest. Be honest with the things that you declare. Now let's review very quickly. What are customs fees? Taxes on goods you bring with you across international borders. Okay, so this is very simple. It's something you have to pay. Every country, the tax is different. Peru, you know, Sunat has, when you enter, they have like a list of everything that you can bring in and how much tax you have to pay, depending on the year that it was made, depending on the place of fabrication, and if it's new or old, etc. Okay, so a custom fee is tax on goods you bring with you across an international border. Now, can I bring anything I want into another country? Can I bring whatever? I mean, I want to bring this to my country, or take it to another country. Is that possible? Can I just put whatever I want in my bag and get on my plane and travel? If you don't have problems in customs here, you might have them when you arrive in your country destination. Okay, so you should never, you should always verify, because there are lists of things that are prohibited. Okay, for business or pleasure. Okay, so make sure that you review these lists, and make sure that you are carrying things that you are allowed to carry, and that way you can avoid having problems, you know, oral, and basically just wasting time. Because if you declare, you leave immediately. But if you don't declare, like I told you, it happened to me once, they send you into this little room where you have to wait with other people until they verify all the information that you're saying, until they verify every fact that they need to check. And that might take 1 or 2 hours sometimes. So you're going to lose time just for not being honest. Okay, so always declare everything that you are taking, whether it's for business or for pleasure. And what happens if I do not declare everything? What happens? Are they going to take me to jail? Are they going to, I don't know, punish me in some physical way? What do you think is going to happen if I don't declare everything? What do you think is going to happen if I don't declare everything? Are they going to kick me out and send me back to my country? Go back to where you came from? Is this what they're going to do? Sometimes they will destroy the products, and sometimes you will pay a fine. And all these actions go to your traveler's background or your history as a traveler. Okay, so I remember once that I was bringing an excess of cigarettes many years ago, when cigarettes were highly sold at duty free, and they took them away from me and they destroyed them. And they just said, okay, the limit is this is the limit, you can't bring anymore. But sometimes there are products that you cannot by any reason bring. And if you do, and don't declare them, because, okay, let's say I'm bringing a plant in my bag. I forgot that they were prohibited. So when they send me, when they give me my border, the format that I'm going to show you pretty soon of what to declare. If I write, I'm bringing a plant, they're going to open it, they're going to take out the plant, and they're going to throw it away. And they'll say, don't bring it next time. And that's that. But if you bring it and you know it's forbidden, and when they ask you anything to declare, and you say, no, 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 nothing, and by chance, an unlucky chance, they find it, then you will have to pay a fine, and then the fines are not cheap. The fines are not cheap at all. Okay, they're very high as for you to not do it again. Okay, as for you to not do it again. And you have to pay the fine before you leave. It's not like, okay, send me the bill or something. No, you have to pay the fine there, or else they won't even let you enter the country until you pay your fine. Okay, very good. So always check the list of what you can or cannot take to a certain country. Now here we're going to show you some documents that that you might need. The first one I'm going to show you is for what everybody who has ever traveled to the USA has declared. Okay, and it's basically your CN23 form. Okay, and here they ask you basic questions. Just be honest. Be honest all the time. Okay, don't say, oh no, I'm going to. It's better to go to customs and let them decide what's going to happen than you lying or not saying the truth and then being returned to your country. Okay. So this is a customs declaration. Okay, each arriving traveler or responsible family member must provide the following information. Only one per family. Okay, so if you are traveling with your wife and your two children, only you or your wife, one of the two, will need to fill out the form. If you're traveling with more than 3 or 4 family members, then only you need to fill out the form. Okay, the term family is defined as members of a family residing in the same household who are related by blood, marriage, domestic relationship, or adoption. So if you're saying you're traveling with 6 or 7 of your friends and you're saying, hey, but we're one group, no. If none of these requirements are matched, then each person will have to make a different declaration. Okay, because it says it clear here. The term family is defined as members of a family residing in the same household who are related by blood, marriage, domestic relationship, or adoption. Okay, so be careful with that. The next information is very simple: your family name, your first or given name. For example, my family name will be Martinez. My first given name will be Carlos, and my middle name will be Javier. Birth date, just write the days there. Numbers of family members traveling with you. You have to say how many are there. And where are you going to stay? Where are you going to stay? You don't where it says street address, don't write your address in your country. You need to say where you're going to stay. Your passport, what country is issued, in the case of our case is Peru. The passport number, your country of residence, and the countries visited in this trip prior to the US arrival. So where did you go? Where were you at before you came here to the United States? And there, well, then you write there the airline flight number or vessel name, or everything, all that information is in your ticket. Next, here comes normally people say, just put no in everything, but no, be careful, please. You need to be very careful with this information. It's not that simple if you lie. The primary purpose of this trip is business, yes or no, you decide. I am or we are bringing fruit, vegetables, plants, seeds, food, or insects. If you're bringing it, just check, be honest and check yes, okay? Because if you check no, then you're gonna have problems because all that is going to be thrown away. Are you bringing meat, animals, wildlife products? Again, if you're bringing in it because you forgot or you bringing it because you didn't know, then just check yes. Don't check no, because if you check no and they by chance open your bag, you're gonna have problems. Disease agents, cell culture, snails. I don't know why somebody will be carrying snails, but if you are, declare them. Okay, if you are, declare them. I mean, it's important. Soil or have been on a farm, ranch, or pasture. Okay, again, be honest. Just say yes. If the real thing is no, then just say no. I'm just telling you. Question 12. I have been in close proximity of livestock, such as touching or handling. Okay, livestock means animals that we eat, okay, like pork or cows, okay. And I mean, here in Peru, we also eat llamas, so maybe that can be considered, or alpacas, okay. So be honest, say yes. I or we am carrying currency or monetary instruments over 10,000 US dollars or an equivalent, okay? So if you're carrying 33,000 soles, that's the equivalent of $10,000, then you need to check yes, okay? I have commercial merchandise, things that you're going to sell, okay? Again, maybe you have 2 or 3 things, they're going to let it go. But if you have more than that, no, okay? But again, be honest, because customs is not mandatory, but if you get caught red-handed, then you will have problems. You will. It's not easy. The USA is very strict with these laws. Okay, and then the total value of all goods, including commercial merchandise, then you have to write the same. But when it says residents, that's for people who live in the United States. And when it says visitors, that's for people who are tourists. So you only fill out the second, you fill out the second rectangle, the one here, where it says the total value of all articles that will remain in the US, including commercial merchandise is. These are things that are going to stay in the USA. Okay, very good. And then you just sign. Okay, you just sign. Very simple. It's not a complicated form. And now we have the back. The back is just giving you information of what is what, right? The U.S. Customs and Border Protection is responsible for protecting the United States against the illegal importation of prohibited items. Okay, that's it. That's their job. Their job is not to be bad. The job is to protect their country. Okay, now here they tell you that they give you definitions, right? What is a U.S. resident? What is a visitor? Non-residents, which will be most tourists who go. Declare all articles in this declaration to ensure the value in the US dollars. The duty, okay, CB officers will determine the duty, how much the tax is, okay? If you have to pay taxes for something, they'll let you know. US residents are normally entitled to a duty-free exception of 800 on items accompanying them. Visitors are normally entitled to an exception of 100. So notice the difference. You can take things that are valuable, but that don't surpass $100. Duty will be assessed at the current rate on the first 1,000 above the exception, okay? So once you pass that, everything else up, it's going to be taxed. Agriculture and wildlife products to prevent air entry of dangerous agricultural pests and prohibited wildlife. You shouldn't take any of these things. Anything that has to do with agriculture, wildlife to the US, because it's not going to pass definitely. And then, well, here is if you say yes to some things here, you're going to describe what you're bringing. I'm bringing this, and this is its value. I'm bringing this and the value, and at the end, you sum up all the values and you write the total of everything that you're bringing to the USA. Okay, so you need to be honest. If you leave this in blank and something is found, then you're going to be in trouble. So please be honest. Now, here are some forms that you're needed for trade, okay? Some of them we have mentioned before, but just going to review. When you ship goods to USA, there are 5 standard documents you need to be familiar with. First, the US customs invoice. Next, the inward cargo manifest, the commercial invoice, and the bill of lading, and finally the packing list. Okay, let's start first with the customs invoice. It looks something like this. Okay, here you have to write the name of the shipper, the ship to, who you're sending it to. I mean, all the information that U.S. borders they will need to know. Basically, U.S. Customs invoice asks to know what you're sending, how many you're sending, and what is their value. Okay, how much is each worth? Okay, as a unit and as bulk. Okay, this is basically the reason for this. They need to know what is the value of everything that you're sending, and every different shipping company has this customs invoice manifest with them, and you should have this. If you don't have this, then you're going to have problems. Next is your inward cargo manifest. Now, again, this is similar to the customs invoice, but this is about basically the contents. Okay, what the first one was more about value. Okay, how much are you carrying? How much are you carrying? Here is more like, okay, what are you carrying? How many are you carrying? Okay, how much do they weigh? How much is how many of them are, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so the inward cargo manifest is basically a description of everything that you have in your vessel. Everything that, okay, as you can see, inward cargo manifest for vessels under 5 tons, ferry, train, car, vehicles, etc. Okay, so this is like, okay, what, like passing list of everything that is in your freight. Okay, so this is the inward cargo manifest. Next is a commercial invoice. The commercial invoice is basically similar to the U.S. Customs invoice, but this is yours. This is your invoice where you have all the information related to what you're trading, what you're bringing or you're shipping. Okay, your invoice number, order number, the date of the person who's sending it, the person who's going to receive it, and everything. Okay, the number of pieces, specifications, weight, quantity, the price, one price, and the total amount. Okay, the total weight, etc. Okay, country of origin. This is a commercial invoice. You need to have this document. Okay, you need to have this document. Very good. Next, the bill of lading. Okay. Here we have an example of what it looks like. Basically, this is the company, the person who provided the transportation of your product. Okay, they are the ones who take it on the boats, who take it on the planes, and they take it from your port of origin to your port of destiny. This is the company saying what it is transporting. Okay, and again, it gives many details of the quantity in the gross quantity, the net quantity. It gives the information of who is sending it and who is going to receive it, etc., etc. But this is done by the company who is making who is transporting your goods. And finally, a packing list. Okay, this is just this is the most simple of all the documents, and they just describe what you're sending, right? You describe what you're sending. And very simple information: the description, the quantity, the shipping number, the weight, and the product number. Okay, this is of all the. This is how you verify the company who's sending. Okay, this is what I'm sending, and you verify. It's like a checklist of everything that you're sending. Okay, this is of all, it's the most simple. But these are the 5 documents that you need basically when you trade, when you get to customs. Okay, your customs invoice, inward cargo manifest, commercial invoice, bill of lading, and your packing list. These are the 5 things that are needed when you trade with the USA and before you go through customs. Okay, and now quickly, as always, let's review very quickly. We have this first document. This document, we have another document, and we have another document. This first document, do you remember what it was? It is the customs invoice, right? The US customs invoice. What about the second one? What about the second one? What is the second document that I'm projecting? The first one was the US customs invoice. What about the next one? It's in the name is there. Then it starts with an I. And yes, it's the inward cargo manifest. And finally, what is this document that we need when we want to trade before we go to customs? Yes, Juan Carlos, it's the inward cargo manifest. And the last document? The packing list, the packing list was before. It was smaller. The packing list was your own. I mean, here we have another. This is like the middle businessman. This is the bill of lading. Okay, this is the company that is taking your product through all the process, through all the air, by train, by land. It's taking your product to its destiny. That is the bill of lading. Okay, the company who is in charge of making all the transportation. Okay, taking it from the seller to the buyer. Okay, that's the bill of lading. Okay, and we also need, like you mentioned before, Juan Carlos, the packing list, and the other one that we need was, let me go here, the commercial invoice. Okay, so these are the 5 documents: the customs invoice, inward cargo manifest, commercial invoice, bill of lading, and the packing list. So these are the documents that you might need. Well, this has been an interesting topic. I hopefully I have been able to clear up some ideas. Although all of us have done this before, it's important to review it sometimes, okay? The things that we need to do, the things that we can't do, what is what, the difference between customs and immigration, where we need to go through customs and immigration, and also some of the documents that, that customs require when you want to make business with another country, okay? So if if you have a few minutes, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer your questions through the Facebook chat. Again, remember, you can contact CAMEX, the Cámara Peruana de Comercio Exterior, for information regarding the English courses and these the topics that we talked about. And also, here's my personal information. If you ever want to contact me, there's my email, my phone number for if you want to contact me through WhatsApp, and my LinkedIn personal account for whatever information that I might be able to help you out with. Any final comments you would like to ask? Remember that we're going to be here Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. On Thursday at 2 p.m. and next Saturday at 1. The topics are always going to be different. Thank you, Miss. And the topics are always going to be different and helpful. But again, it's always good to hear your comments to see if there's any specific topic that you would like to talk about, or any specific details that you will have more information about. No? Okay, thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Juan Carlos. Thank you. Okay, the procedures to take fruit, it's different. That procedure has to be made first with the Department of Agriculture. We don't have much time to express that, but it's going to be one of the topics that we're going to talk about pretty soon. But yes, you need permits with the Department of Agriculture first. There needs to be some procedures. I will include it as a topic for one of our future lectures, to be able to answer the questions of Juan Carlos. Stay tuned to the lectures that I'm pretty sure that soon we will include what are the regulations for exporting fruit and vegetables to the USA. What I said here is that you can't take them with you. Okay, you can't take them with you. You can't put them in your backpack or your suitcase, but you can export them. But that's another topic for another lecture, Juan Carlos. Elizabeth, nice to see you. Well, nice to see you again. We'll see you soon on Thursday then. Okay. So if there are no more questions, I hope you have a great afternoon, have a great week, and I'll see you on Thursday at 2 p.m. Have a great day.